Hello English 10, this is Ms. Long coming at you with Unit 1, our first full unit in the fall semester of 2016. This is the unit that comes right after the orientation, right after the introduction. It's a basically 5-week unit that will take us to our 6-week grade periods into the very beginning of October. So this will be the unit that you're looking at the umbrella idea of dealing with difficulty. And it's kind of a good umbrella because most literature is about the challenges in our lives that make us human. And depending on what book you chose, you'll read about some different types of challenges. Now, the standards we're going to be meeting are basically all of our oral communication, our reading for all purposes, and writing and composition. But in particular, we're looking at the analytical skills that enable you to get more out of literature. Now, I'm going to make a very brief comparison between what we do in literature and other types of appreciation. If you're a musician, you know that your music is very intricately involved. You know that each piece contributes to the whole. If you go to a museum and you just look at the piece of art very quickly, you're not getting the full detail. In fact, many of you picked up on the fact that I'd traveled a lot, and I remember a particular museum in Vienna where I had this phenomenal guide, and I think we looked at this particular piece of art for probably 15 minutes, and little details were pointed out. Well, that's basically what you're doing with literature. You're analyzing each of these little pieces to appreciate what a magnificent work it is. And I take you back to your question from last week in the introduction, why is it that particular books are valuable? Why should we spend our time on particular books over other books, whether those are classic or contemporary? What makes a book have value? And so as we progress through Unit 1, I want you to keep those questions in mind looking at your particular book. Now, a couple of housekeeping items before we begin, reminders and stuff. One of them is that I would like to be sure you're checking your grade at least once a week. Look for those missing submissions. You thought you turned it in, but no, you didn't quite get it in. It's better to get 85% late credit than get no credit. I do have to turn in grades on Thursday afternoons, so that means that by Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, grades are about as updated as they're going to be at any given point in the week. Obviously, grades are constantly changing as you're submitting things and I'm grading things, but check for them probably toward the end of the week, or any time really, just to make sure that you've turned everything in. Also, I want to note that if you didn't receive an email message on Friday afternoon, you should get in contact with me, because I did send out a mass mail merge message and there were several that came back as undeliverable. So that might have been one of yours. So I want to make sure that you get those updates. And then I also just want to comment on Edgenuity. Kind of a challenging start. I ended up having to reset the course because of the prescriptive test. And those of you who had done the prescriptive test gave me some valuable information, and you did get full points on that assignment. If you didn't do it because you didn't get to it, you started late, whatever, it's not going to hurt your grade that you didn't do it. But you don't need to get that off. You don't need to take care of it. The important thing is that you got into Edgenuity, you got the login to work, and you were able to get registered with the system. We will be using Edgenuity a lot in this unit to get some of those basic skills. So it's really important that you have that foundation, that you have that login all settled. So once again, Unit 1 has a literature focus. We're dealing with the umbrella of various types of difficulty. This particular week in our Edgenuity reading, she'll be looking at some of the challenges and difficulties in life of being human in this kind of material world. Either we have too much money, or we have enough money, or we don't have enough money. In a lot of ways, money can be very stressful. So looking at what life values we might juxtapose with the material values that we're surrounded by. But at any rate, you'll be looking at different types of difficulty, and you notice that your books are, they run the gamut with war and racism and the rich and the wealthy. So there's a lot of different types of difficulty you'll look at. Really, that's what most literature is going to be about, because that's what's pressing to us as humans. We will be looking at literary elements and devices in Edgenuity. You'll look at short passages there, and you will apply them to your novel. And then you'll finish this unit, this 5-week unit that's remaining, with a literary analysis and a book presentation or discussion. So that's where we're headed. We're going to gain the skills to become better readers and take apart that book and really get to appreciate why it's so valuable. Now, just a reminder, you should have chosen one of 8 novels last week. You should have obtained your book already. If not, make that your high priority this week. get to reading. Again, I'm figuring about 3 hours a week to finish your book by September 18th. I am okay with students using audio recordings to supplement the reading. That's a solid, sound reading strategy. But in any case, get the book read by September 18th so we can work with it, so we can do some stuff with it. So let's go ahead and preview the session. I will try to give this type of introduction throughout the course so that you kind of have a heads up on what's coming. So in each session, you'll have a session plan that gives you important announcements, like when you can get help and when there are work sessions, and back to school night that's coming up this week, along with a list of the assignments that you'll be completing. Now, I have lumped together Edgenuity here, so all 3 tasks that you're completing in Edgenuity are in one assignment, a reflective journal, and then you'll continue your reading. You'll also be able to find a suggested schedule. How I suggest that you use your time if you're going to work every day. Obviously, how you structure it is up to you. But these assignments are all due on Monday, September 5th, that is Labor Day, before midnight. So you pace your time according to your needs. Once again, if you haven't chosen your book, you need to get on right away and make sure that you've chosen one of these 8 books and gotten yourself a copy that you can write notes in and annotate quotations that stand out to you for whatever reason. It might be because they really indicate the theme or the conflict, or they really develop the character, or the author's choice of language is phenomenal. But you're going to be marking some type of quotations as you read. Now, supplementing that, or working in tandem with that, is our Edgenuity curriculum. And in Edgenuity, you're going to have 3 different sessions, 3 different learning sessions, one on figurative language, one on vocabulary, denotation and connotation, and one on a short story called The Bet. Now, once you've completed all 3 of these assignments, you're going to go to the Edgenuity assignment page, and you're going to give me a question or comment that you had on those lessons, or you can also just give me a friendly greeting like, hey, hope you're having a nice day. Something to let me know that your work in Edgenuity is ready for me to review. And just a reminder, when you see this preview page, go to click the next link on that Edgenuity assignment. You go here, and basically it should pop up in Schoology. It's going to tell me that I've already got a session open, which I'm sure I do on some device, and you can just continue in that case. So it'll take you directly to Edgenuity. Don't go through the Edgenuity website, go through Schoology. So anyway, you'll complete those 3 assignments on figurative language, vocabulary, and the short story The Bet, and you'll submit something to me to tell me to look for that. And then the last thing that you're going to do besides just read is build background knowledge. Every single one of your books has a specific historical period and specific reason that the author wrote that book. It's maybe to pull out the nature of racism in the 1940s. It may be to really expound on what it meant to be in World War II or World War I. So whatever the background is, that's a strategy of an effective reader. And you all want to be effective readers. So you're going to do a little bit of research on your author and the social context time period where your book took place. So you'll take a look at that, and then when you get to your reflective journal, you're going to write a summary of what you found out and your reaction to it. Because oftentimes you might be surprised about something that in the author's background, or you might be able to make predictions about what's coming, and that's actually going to make your reading a lot easier. So you'll turn in the same Google document you started in the introduction, and then you're going to add this entry to it. About 20 minutes of writing is what I'm looking for, sustained writing. And then the remainder of your week, you will dig into that book. Remember, your book should be finished by September 18th. So pace yourself appropriately, be about 1/3 to halfway through this week so that you can get done in time for us to work with it. Any questions, shoot me an email, text, remind, anything, phone call, come to a help session. I'm here for you. Please don't flounder, don't struggle on your own, but reach out for help. Have yourselves a great week. Bye.